we're in this world where a lot of things are experimental. You got to do short pilots. I've had some of my customers go through very extensive spreadsheets with 30 different tabs trying to evaluate AI, and yet they're like, we don't know where to start.
RFP process is evolving. Traditional RFPs don't work for AI because they're too static.
One thing you tell every CMO or CIO about bringing AI to their org.
I would say don't chase AI.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the AI Marketer podcast, where we go beyond the hype and talk about how AI is actually being adopted inside large organizations. I'm your host, Neha Mittal, founder of Just AI, where every week we bring you real stories, real results, and zero fluff. Today, I'm joined by Shweta Puri, who leads marketing technology and AI operations at Nextdoor, the neighborhood network that connects communities all around the world. She sits at the intersection of MarTech, data, and AI, where she's been driving how Nextdoor brings AI out of pilot mode and into everyday work. And I'm sure all our listeners are very excited about that. Over the past year, she has led one of the most successful enterprise AI adoptions inside the company, rolling out Glean AI over to 500 employees, and also has also enabled teams to build over 250 agents. And I want to hear all about that in a second. But beyond tech, Shweta's focus has also been on education and enablement, helping non-technical teams become confident with AI adoption. In this episode, we will be unpacking how enterprises can make AI real, not just in labs or in pilot projects, and how to build AI literacy across an entire company. We'll talk about what it takes to bring AI into everyday workflows, how to evaluate tools when the industry feels like chaos, and what separates successful rollouts from stalled experiments. So let's dive in. Welcome, Shweta. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thanks, Neha. Excited to be here. At Nextdoor, I lead the marketing technology and AI operations team. Over the last few months, our focus has been on transforming AI from pilot experiments into practical, everyday capability, woven into our different teams like marketing, business technology, finance, people team, and basically all other teams in our organization. When we began, there was definitely a plenty of enthusiasm, but also at the same time, a lot of uncertainty. Everyone wanted to use AI. I think that's true, in the industry in general. And yet, very few knew like where to begin. So our mission sort of became very clear. That is, build AI fluency, embed them into real workflows, and ensure that it scales securely and sustainably. So today, I'm proud to say that more than 500 employees across Nextdoor actively use Glean AI with adoption rates exceeding 90%. And this is also powered by 250 AI agents that the teams have been able to build to support their day-to-day job. And the initiative marks definitely a shift from, curiosity to capability and from experimentation to impact. So I'm really excited to share my experience here with Glean AI and how we can use it for marketing as well at some point.
Amazing. Yeah, I loved all of that. There's so many questions I have. So something you said was, hey, when we were initially starting, right, we were starting to think through this is AI is a dream. Everybody wants to use it, but really we have to bring it into people's workflows. So maybe take us to the beginning when you were maybe even just evaluating tools like Glean and just starting to think through how do we even get people comfortable in the very first few weeks or first few phases of your pilot. Like, what did that look like?
Oh yeah, of course. So education, as I mentioned earlier, it's our first unlock. So instead of having long theoretical based heavy sessions, we embedded learning directly into everyday workflows. So we kind of started with hosting organization wide and team specific office hours. Created Glean agents for FAQs that can help get started on what exact tool is about and its capabilities. And also, we created some, teams with real tasks. We kind of motivated them to use AI for real tasks. For example, from reconciling accounts to analyzing Salesforce reports. this is something our teams do on a daily basis, right? So Glean has come in very, very handy in kind of term in solving these problems and speed up the entire process. And some teams have actually gone ahead and saved like literally weeks and hours of effort with just one automation.
Mhm. That sounds good. I want to dig into two different aspects. So what I'm
Mhm.
hearing is instead of saying, "Hey, here's an AI tool, just go use it," you
Exactly.
went back and started to think about one use case at a time, and maybe even create agents to educate on, "Hey, this is your use case. How do you now use a tool?" That's very interesting. And the second piece of this is I want to also step back. It sounds like this is when you already knew you want to now have teams try this tool, right? But was there an evaluation process before this, before you were convinced, or your team who's making the decision itself was convinced, hey, this is the right tool? So I want to touch on both the points. Maybe we can step back first and sort of think through how did this tool like fall into place? When did the first conversation start? Tell me a little bit more about that.
Sure. I mean, in my opinion, AI today feels like App Store back in 2008, exciting but noisy. There are
Yeah.
plenty of tools right now, and every company wants to, showcase their AI capabilities. So we kicked things off with a very small and focused POC or a pilot across few teams before we actually rolled it out enterprise
Got
wide.
it. Got it.
So Glean actually was a clear winner. It proved its value. What previously took months to build with another platform could now be done in a day or two.
Mhm.
So in terms of like automations, right? We have already connected 25 plus sources with Glean, and all these tools are something that teams use on a day-to-day basis. So
Got
our
it.
decision framework mainly comprised of, ease of integration with our core stack across the company, be it Slack, Google Suite, GitHub, Salesforce, Workday, etc.
Very much. Mhm.
And the second most important was security and compliance ready. So we definitely, since we are a public company, we have to comply with certain
Okay.
security measures.
Yeah.
And Glean kind of checked all those marks.
Got it.
And again,
Mhm.
proof of value within 30 days. So we could see significant value out of this tool within like 30 days, less than 30 days, I would say.
Wow.
So,
Okay. That's impressive. Yeah. Yeah. And so it sounds like the two unlocks. One unlock was, of course, integrations, where you could
yes.
integrate with tools like Slack, GitHub, and whatnot. And then the
Exactly.
second one was the actual value, like very quickly seeing
Mhm.
results. Did the integration happen in the first 30 days, or did you first start with integration and then you said, we're ready now to launch? And then 30 days, that's when you brought in all the use cases across teams.
Yeah, so when we did the pilot, we actually connected only 5 to 6 data sources, which were
Uh-huh.
primarily Slack, Google Suite, and basically anything that's used organization wide.
Uh-huh.
And then we started after the pilot or after we proved the value. That's when we started integrating other tools which are more team specific. For example,
Very
Workday,
much.
something people team uses, but then all the employees have
Yeah.
questions around that, right? So it
Yeah.
holds a lot of knowledge. And same thing with GitHub. Prod Dev uses it, but then we integrated only once we saw values with other more generic
Mhm,
stack.
mhm. And you also mentioned how, Glean was the clear winner. Were you testing multiple tools? Did you have an internal version of that? Like, what was your baseline? How did you compare that? And just for context, I think what companies see, especially in the MarTech world, is there's just so many tools. Everybody's doing the same thing. And so, I guess, what was best practice for you guys in terms of how you sort of did this? Was it sequential where you tried multiple tools? Was it just like going big on one tool and seeing it all play out? Yeah, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, so we've been experimenting with MarTech tools a lot, meaning using the AI capabilities that are built into the tools. So you might be aware, like, for example, Segment or Iterable or HubSpot, they have their own AI
Sure.
capabilities that are built within the tool, but they solve very narrow use cases, which is sort of verticalized and not
Yeah.
horizontal. So we were looking for an enterprise AI tool which could basically cut across all the organizations within the company and provide value. and kind of we're able to collaborate more,
Okay.
with different tools and take actions. Again, agentic AI is something that was a big unlock where teams can actually take action, or the agents can take action
Mm.
based on whatever past information they have, right? So
Yeah.
it basically automates the workflow end to end. So you don't
Yeah.
really have to intervene at times and
Right.
just build
Right.
automations that run. But again, there has to be some guardrails that the teams need to put in. And we've kind of provided enough training sessions already, and we continue to do that across the company.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let's dig into that. So the second piece of what I wanted to touch on. So it sounds like, um, was it your team that was going into every team's workflows and learning the workflow, then building an agent for them, or was it Glean's team? Or like, how did that process work? And then let's touch on an example, like a good success case with a team where you guys went in, built that agent or a bunch of agents, and like what it produced in terms of results.
Yeah, sure. So yes, it was my team, small and lean, just two people on
That
my team here. But yes, Glean AI was our first, large scale rollout. So we had it rolled out to both technical and non technical folks. For
uh-huh.
technical teams, primarily, for example, product and engineering adoption meant deeper system integration. So we connected
Or
Glean to
system
applications
integrations.
like Jira for issue tracking, Confluence for documentation, Databricks for data analysis, and that helps data engineers a lot. GitHub for code repositories, etc. And
Okay.
obviously, G Suite or Google Suite is something that cuts across the organization.
Sure.
And then there were uh, integrations that allowed non-technical folks like finance and accounting, people team, business operations, and marketing. So it was all about basically building that trust and relevance within the systems for the tools that they use on a day-to-day basis without creating any extra overheads. And as a result, we have built 250 plus custom agents, ranging from a recruiter agent, for the people team, or a fraud detection agent for the business operations team has to was manually detecting
Mm,
all the frauds on the platform. And there are some rules built in, but there was no automation like end-to-end workflow. For there are 100 million neighbors on our platform. There
mm,
are millions of businesses that advertise on Nextdoor. So
mm,
there's always obviously fraud happening. There are
mm,
fraudulent accounts that get created. So we have to monitor it really closely. So
mhm.
agents are really helping kind of
Wow.
ease out
Yeah,
that
and
scale.
that's impressive. And something else you said was how it was very easy to use as well. Uh, uh, can you peel that a little bit more in terms of what made it easy? What were some of the things that you were like, oh, this is easier than we thought?
Yeah, sure. I think the key to driving sustained adoption was to bring AI to where employees already work. By
Mm-hmm.
connecting the systems they rely on daily and seamlessly embedding intelligence basically into the workflows on where the employees are, rather than introducing additional layer of processes and complexities. So that definitely helped build value instantly. So we
Mm,
didn't have to, uh, we didn't have to educate them on how to build complicated processes. We just went and added the systems that they anyway use, right? So
mhm.
this augmented their abilities to solve day-to-day problems.
Got it. And how does it look today? Like, does it mean that the workflow automations are in place? Now employees can just go and execute those? Or now they're at this point where they understand how to augment those workflows with new agents and they can do that? Like, where realistically, where are, not you, of course, you're, I'm sure, a pro, but everybody else on average, where do they stand in terms of their expertise?
No, I think it's a learning curve for everybody, and some people are ahead in the curve, and some people are still learning or getting started. But yes, we make sure as a team that we have regular office hours. We have a dedicated clean support channel where I personally go in and listen to all the problems or issues that people might encounter during creating these agents or using Glean in general for their search queries. So yes, I have. We've built in some we've built in some processes and resources for the teams to kind of leverage to be able to get into the platform and start using it as with an ease, basically.
Yeah, yeah. No, very cool. That sounds good. Tell us a little bit more about something that didn't go as expected or something that you had to like walk very cautiously on. What are examples of things to keep in mind when you're running pilots? Because one thing I know for sure is it all sounds rosy, but when you get to it, there are always some challenges here and there, right? So give us a little bit of that reality check on what are things that you had to do differently, or what are some of the mistakes you learned from.
Yeah, so I think the learnings would be, go slow, but once you've tested the water, then roll it out at scale, right? So that's exactly what we did. I think security was one of the issues or like concerns, I would say, across the teams
Mm,
because, it's all their data, personal data that gets shared with different systems, right?
mhm,
With Glean. So Glean has a 0-day retention policy in terms of security. So security was of utmost importance for us when we
mhm,
rolled out all these data sources and or connected them with Glean. So security was definitely something which was very important, and we there were some data sources where we saw some security loopholes, and we had to pull back on them. For
mhm,
example,
mhm.
Databricks, uh, since it has PII information, like all the information
Sure.
about the customers, we have to be extra careful. So we ended up creating some test groups that are doing thorough analysis on how the data is being used or shared with Glean. And only once they are comfortable or data engineering teams are comfortable, we will roll it out for all the employees. So
Mhm,
we are
mhm.
taking those extra steps in to ensure that we have all the security measures in place. And
Right.
whenever we have a doubt, we test it out and then prove its value and then only kind of move forward with it.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Yes. And yes, security and PI is probably one of the
Yes.
biggest,
Yes. And being a
biggest parts.
public company, we have to comply with certain rules as well.
Yeah. 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 All makes sense. And I want to also touch on, we talked about some success stories, and you also mentioned how in 30 days we had like measurable wins and clear examples, right? I want to bring it back to something more digestible for our audience, where it's like, this task used to take us, I don't know, 10 weeks. Now it takes us 2 hours. Do you have examples of those where you can clearly say, this is how we know we're definitely, becoming efficient as a company now that we can use tools, AI tools?
Yeah, sure. So one example I would say from the business operations team, fraud detections, right? Something that the teams were going through manually earlier, right? They had some guidelines, obviously, but somebody really had to go through the posts or some,
Mhm, mhm.
wherever they suspected some suspicious activities, they had to go through all of that manually.
Yeah.
However, now we've built an agent, or the team, the business operations team has actually built an agent where they've built in all the rules, all the best practices, and the agent does that for you. Obviously,
Yeah.
there is an approval process at the end of it, but all the manual efforts, which used to take like at least a week's time, can be done like within a few hours.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah. And in hindsight, it feels so obvious that we should all be doing
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, exactly. And
Yeah.
we just had an open enrollment for employees, right? Benefit
Sure.
open
Yeah.
enrollment, and
Yeah.
our people team was able to build an agent, basically who that helped us answer all the benefit related questions within the Slack channel.
Oh, I love that.
Really
Yeah.
beneficial, right? You ask a question, you get an answer like within 1 or 2 minutes. If you have
Oh,
any
I love that so
benefit related,
much.
yeah.
I still
So
go back to, I don't know, Kaiser and whatnot and read their docs, and I still don't know which plan
exactly.
I'm going to
Yes,
go for.
exactly. And imagine like one person handling all these questions from the entire company now has an agent that can do it for them. And obviously, if there are any advanced questions, and the team is constantly monitoring all the answers or
Mhm,
responses that are
mhm.
generated. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's great. It's working great.
Yeah. Yeah. No, this is amazing. Okay, I want to step back and think through sort of what the RFP process now looks like in the AI world. So just to set context, when we were looking at SaaS tools, I guess pre-AI, right? It was a very standard process. We could even do multi-year deals, whatnot. And now we're in this world where a lot of things are experimental. You got to do short pilots, like you
Yes.
said. I've had some of my customers go through very extensive spreadsheets with 30 different tabs trying to evaluate AI, and yet they're like, we don't know where to start. So maybe give us a little bit more on how that process looked like for you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for sure, RFP process is evolving, and traditional RFPs don't work for AI, in my opinion, because they are too static, right? As you said,
Mm,
spreadsheets and yeah, there's tons
yeah.
of information that you have to fill in. So instead, we run live pilot RFPs where
Hmm.
vendors get a few weeks to show impact, maybe in a sandbox environment and not on slides, really. So
Hmm.
not on document, but in real world. So
Hmm.
we balance speed and governance using maybe two tracks here. For example, a fast lane, low risk experimentation where we do like quick trials or prompt testing that don't involve like sensitive data like or customer data, allowing
Hmm.
teams to learn faster and showcase value
Hmm. Hmm.
very quickly. Okay. And the other one is more governed lane, where we think that anything touching core or customer data handled through a structured review um, process with legal or IT or security teams. And this
Hmm.
ensures that every AI tool or workflows that meet these compliances, data protection, and privacy standards while still enabling progress.
Hmm.
So I feel that this dual approach, you have to kind of balance it out, balance the agility with the responsibility in a way.
No, that's so true because we talk a lot about how enterprise is going to be adopting AI versus a startup or consumers are
Exactly.
going to be adopting it, right? And like you said, things like security, governance, reviews that play a huge role. And some of the
Yes,
stuff that even our team discusses a lot is, are we building for somebody who doesn't have these constraints? We see where AI is going and then have enterprises adopt this, or are we building enterprise ready stack? And maybe we can go as fast as what like
exactly.
a small company can do in terms of making AI adoption happen. But is that a new sort of stack of tools, like enterprise AI first tools, which are just built around that, shell of like reviews and processes and whatnot?
Exactly.
Um,
Yeah. So we have to kind of balance that out for sure,
yeah.
wherever it matters most.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm curious. So, for example, I'd place Glean in the enterprise category, right? Like where you have all the
Yes.
security reviews and everything. Are you also seeing a bottoms up motion where your employees would bring in tools and examples, and then you'd adopt it in the company?
Yes, yes. So we do have, since I also lead the AI operations team. So yes, we do get requests for specialized tools from different teams.
Oh,
Usually,
cool.
the prod and engineering teams are pretty curious and they want to experiment and bring in more tools to help them with coding and all. So they do use Claude and Cursor, which are very specific to their use cases. But yes, we do get requests and we make sure that we evaluate them. So, for example, there was a company we talked to back in February. They did not have an enterprise plan yet. So, we had to turn them down. Basically, we couldn't proceed with them because our biggest, as I said, being a public company, our biggest criteria is around security. And only if they
Hmm.
can enable SSO or an Okta
Sure.
login, that's where we
Absolutely.
partner
Yeah.
partner with them.
No.
So
Yeah.
yeah, so they came back to us in the fall and they now have SSO integrated. Now we are evaluating them again.
Nice. Very
So
cool. Very cool.
yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's table stakes for us as well. It's just like we need
exactly.
those. Um, Makes sense. Okay, and then in the same vein, we're also seeing, like you mentioned, horizontal tools like Glean, where you want
Mhm.
many organizations to adopt it. But of course, vertical tools that do one job really well, whether it's Harvey for legal or whatever, right? Like we're seeing very, very vertical specific tools.
Mhm.
Um, Tell me a little bit about What's your take on it? Like, are you seeing horizontal tools eventually tackle every use case like you described? Or is there a space for vertical tools too? Like, give us your first thoughts there.
Yeah. So I kind of view this into two lanes. Again, as you said, horizontal enablers like Glean, or it could be Workaro Genie, that improves how everyone collaborates across the company. And then there are vertical tools like Iterables, predictive goals, for example, AI journey builder, or it could be Databricks Genie with no code,
Sure.
no SQL database queries
Mhm.
for deeper functions. So I feel horizontal powered enterprise wide intelligence is still relevant, while vertical specific enablers deliver precision impact where it matters the most. So it depends on the use cases and what your organization is looking for. Sometimes these enterprise level enablers are kind of are high level, and they
Mhm.
might not do very specific tasks like, for example, campaign execution itself or
Right.
creating journeys for you,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
So for
Mhm.
those, you need AI capabilities within the marketing platforms that you already have in place.
Right.
So,
That makes sense.
example being, as I said, like Iterables, there are so many AI capabilities they are bringing in their
Yeah.
existing tool itself.
Yeah.
So,
That explains it. Yeah, there's that trade-off of being very generic because you have to be
exactly.
cater horizontal needs
Exactly.
versus being very focused on what you are doing. Um, I have a question that I don't have an answer to just yet, so I want to know your thoughts. How do you see horizontal tools match up against the big fish? So big fish as in your OpenAIs and Anthropics of the world, right? Where a lot of companies would have something like an enterprise OpenAI contract. And they're thinking through agentic stuff. They're building out agentic automations, right? Which is very similar to a lot of automation tools that are horizontal. Of course, they don't have the agent builder and executor, sure. How do you compare these two? Like at some point, how does a company like Nextdoor or any enterprise, right? How do you compare which tools would you be using forward? Because I can imagine you wouldn't want, let's say, two gleans in the
Oh, yeah.
company. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh,
So, like ChatGPT or OpenAI, again, with Glean, if I compare it with that, with Glean, we get access to all these models into one platform. So
mm,
I think I didn't mention this earlier, but with Glean, you can actually you get access to all the latest models from OpenAI, Claude,
makes
Anthropic,
sense.
uh, Gemini, all these
Yeah.
models in one platform.
Hmm.
Plus, it also has access to your enterprise knowledge,
Right.
right? So it cuts across all the data sources that you're anyways working in.
Yeah.
However, if you bring in OpenAI, I haven't tested their agentic flow quite yet. It's very new.
Hmm.
Um, but it would
No,
only provide
understand.
you access to just their LLM, right? Versus other LLMs, which might be better with research related tasks or maybe reading spreadsheets. I've observed Gemini being better than OpenAI for reading structured data at
Hmm.
times. So
Hmm.
again, so with Glean, we got this advantage of having access to all the LLMs within one interface, and you can pick and choose whatever works best for your agents.
Got it. Yeah.
So
No,
that
that's
was
that's
our thinking when we were evaluating. So we got
yeah.
everything instead of buying like separate subscriptions at that point. We just bought one, and it provided access to all of the other tools.
That's really insightful because now you're saying we can make the world competitive. It doesn't have to be one or the
Exactly.
other, right? Like, and for what it's worth, different AI tools might be good at different tasks too. So you want
Exactly. Yes. Mhm.
flexibility.
Yes.
Nice. Okay, cool. I want to switch gears and talk a little bit about MarTech tooling. I know you mentioned some examples there in terms of like
Mhm.
iterables, journey builders and whatnot. Um, maybe tell us a bit more on what has worked for you so far and what hasn't, in terms of if you have explored MarTech tools and if the RFP process and evaluation process is similar. Is there any differences that you've seen?
Yeah. So
Mhm.
within our current tech stack, for example, Iterable has come up with a lot of new AI features. They're still evolving. HubSpot has its own AI content assistant that helps craft SEO optimized titles and descriptions for your website content. And again, we use Segment as our CDP. So AI driven audience enrichment and data streaming intelligence that basically empower the real time personalizations across campaigns. So these are some of the things that we've tried and tested. But again, there's definitely a room for improvement since it's the scope of these AI is very limited to the system that it is built into. You cannot really so it's the challenge is basically cross connecting or uh, integrating with other data sources. For example, we are still testing this out, but we are figuring out how we can connect Databricks directly with Iterable, for example, right? So that we get real time um, insights directly into Iterable, and we don't really have to switch tabs and switch context all the time. So that
Mhm.
processing is faster.
Yeah.
So so yeah, these enhancements obviously it's going to keep evolving, but these
Mhm.
enhancements they do reduce manual segmentation and analysis, but also improves, overall engagement and conversion rates and campaign velocity in general.
Yeah.
So we also saw a significant drop in complaint rates or spam rates, thanks to active deliverability monitoring system that we
Nice.
have.
Nice. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. So, and like a lot of these tools, at least what you've explored in MarTech, they're helping you with efficiencies by augmenting your
Correct.
current stack that you already had.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
And
Uh,
yeah, a lot of these companies now have a revised, evaluation process and RFPs, etc. So yeah, we are kind of going through it slowly as the renewals come in. But yeah,
yeah.
we'll have to basically balance it out, what works within the marketing tool itself versus what licenses we already have at the enterprise level.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have to make
Well,
that call.
yeah, that's actually a good way into a good segue into future looking stuff. So, where is the what is the next wave of tool adoption in enterprises, right? So maybe let's start with um, what does AI literacy look like for different departments in the next few years? Like, how do you think about that?
Yeah, it's moving pretty quickly, as we all can see. In the next few years or in the next couple of years, I would say AI literacy will be a very basic skill like data literacy, right? And every team will have someone who can build or guide an agent at least. So as technology as advances, these agents are going to connect to different systems and helping teams make their decisions faster, share knowledge instantly, and also keep learning as they work. So
Uh-huh.
things are evolving very fast. We'll have to match up with the pace, and the future enterprise will thrive on this blend of, human judgment and intelligent automation. So again,
Mhm.
you'll have to kind of weigh in both sides of the coin.
Totally.
Um, yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
that's my take on it. You'll have to basically work and see where that human intervention is needed.
I love that analogy of data literacy, where it's like, I think
Yeah,
what, like 10 years ago, everybody needed to be a little bit more data literate, and that's
exactly.
going to be true for AI.
Yeah,
um,
for sure.
and I guess on the same note, how how is leadership thinking in terms of evolving not just your literacy but also skills of the team, right? Like, how are you thinking about who to hire, or what kind of skills do you need in the team, or should the teams be designed differently? I don't know if you're seeing already some effects of that with some tooling that you have today.
Yeah, we are actually in the process of putting that together. Like, how do we, I'm working with the talent acquisition team here to basically see how best we can assess the candidates on their AI
Interesting.
capabilities.
Mm,
Again, AI capabilities are going to be different at different levels, different roles, etc. But yes, there's some sort of threshold or the baseline that we have to set. Um, so the
yeah.
traditional, I feel, the traditional AI center of excellence model will evolve probably into centers of enablement where you have agile, more cross functional teams that blend business enterprise, governance, and technical skills to turn ideas into real impact. So, if an individual is able to actually show the impact or at least, maybe demo it from their past experiences, how they've used AI to create that impact, that would definitely be that will provide an edge over other
Yeah.
candidates in
Yeah.
terms of recruiting.
Yeah, no, I mean, as we hire, we're still also figuring that out. It's like that's one place that's ready to be disrupted on how do we both give you the benefit of that, the access to AI, so you don't need to do what you used to traditionally do in your interviews or in real life, but also test for that kind of excellence in AI.
Exactly. Yes, for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. Well, I want to switch to our most fun section, which is the hot takes.
Okay.
So, so think of this as a quick round where I'm going to be asking you a few questions very quickly. No right or wrongs. This is also a time for you to have bold opinions. You can be a contrarian. You can have hot takes. All of that is all fair game.
Mhm. Sure.
All right. Are you ready?
Yes.
All right. Let's start with the simple one. Beer or wine?
Wine.
Wine. Red or white?
Red.
That's me too. All right. POCs, are they overrated today? All the pilots and POCs in AI.
Yes, they are overrated to a certain extent. I think pilots should prove value, not just the concept.
Interesting. Fair. Uh, what do you think is the most underrated factor in AI adoption success?
I feel the most underrated factor would be the change management because
Change.
tools don't fail, adoption does. So,
Oh, that's so powerful.
yeah, so I would say change management is a very critical component of any
Yeah.
role.
That. Um, I think you already talked about AI literacy being table stakes, but let me ask you a different flavor of it. Do you think every organization is going to have an AI team, or do you think AI is going to be embedded in every team, and so you're not going to have an AI first pod like we see today?
Y- Yeah, I think every company would have, as I said, center of enablement and also AI built into each team because it's not optional anymore.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So you
It's
do
sort
think
of
both
like a
will exist?
baseline skill.
Yeah. Okay, cool. One AI tool that you think every enterprise will have by next year and can be Glean, of course. uh,
Yeah, I would say a knowledge assistant that becomes company's shared brain. And an example I can think of right now is Glean because we're working with
yeah, yeah,
that.
yeah,
But yes, I'm
yeah.
sure there'll be more that come in.
Yeah, no, I think you're spot on in that. Something that can help fix
Exactly.
silos in the company, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
for sure.
Okay. Last one. One thing you tell every CMO or CIO about bringing AI to their org.
I would say don't chase AI, design for it, and build systems and people that are ready to evolve with it.
Mm, I have more questions on what design means, but I'll leave it there. uh, awesome. Well, this is so much fun. So I learned a ton, not only about how to run POCs, but making them successful. Just the idea of breaking down a big tool and then thinking through how do we create use cases one at a time, and also considering things like security behind the scenes. There were some really powerful insights on how to think about change management, different teams coming together. So yeah, no, thank you so much. Any last takeaways for our listeners? Any last pieces of advice or things that you would want to mention?
No, I think the industry is moving pretty fast, and you have to evolve with it. It's not optional anymore. Yeah, so don't procrastinate. Yeah, just kind of keep learning.
I love it. AI is not optional anymore. We'll leave it there. Thank you, Shweta, for joining us. I had a lovely chat with you. And yeah, for those who like this, please subscribe. And if you have questions or more topics that you want us to talk about, let us know in the comments. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Neha, for the opportunity.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye bye.
Bye.